So Buck, we're talking grip on a pistol.
Yeah.
And you see so much out there on, you're doing that wrong, or this guy's gripping his gun wrong, or whatever. And obviously we're clear here, so we're going to be able to talk about and manipulate this gun a little bit. And you know, when I started as a kid, what I learned in shooting, starting on my dad's 22 Ruger, right? What I was always taught is get the tightest grip you can here, white knuckling it, make your fingernails turn white, get that as, grip the heck out of it with your shooting hand. This hand then came over here, and it was, I saw this a lot. This,
the teacup and saucer.
Yep, this whole thing, and then I learned push and pull and create a bunch of front and back tension there. So I'm pushing forward with my right hand, pulling back with my left hand. And
you're doing like a vice,
like a
smashing
vice.
It into each other.
And you can see, like, when the kind of tension I'm talking about, I'm exaggerating this a little bit, but you get this, right? Because there's just so much muscle engagement there.
And then when we are on target with our sights, just a little bit of a shake is enough to get you.
I mean, at 20 yards, I'm moving 8 to 10 inches right there.
Yeah. So you may be exaggerating it here a little bit, but just a tiny bit when we're actually on it
doesn't take much.
It's huge. It doesn't need to be exaggerated when you're actually on target there.
Yeah. So some things that competition taught me, and this is obviously more for accuracy, and so I'm gonna talk competition grip, and then I'd love to get your like tactical combat kind of thoughts on it. So my grip has changed as a competition shooter. Now I get enough of a grip with my shooting hand that I'm not engaging all these muscles, because I don't want a bunch of movement when I move my trigger finger. I need to isolate that trigger finger so there's no movement there, and the clamping grip of the gun is not taking place in my right hand anymore. My clamping is taking place with my left hand. And I'm going to get to a spot. Let me switch you places here. So as we're going here, and we're safe in this direction, just so we've said it, what we're doing is, here's my grip here, and I used to, like I said, grip the heck out of it. Here's my thumb. You can see my thumb here gripping and everything. This hand came in here, and I pulled and pushed, and I didn't, this hand was purely for vice grip scenario. Now, with competition, this grip is relaxed a little bit, enough to where, I'm not going to drop the gun. This hand now comes in, and I make contact here with this grip. My thumb comes forward. I like to have a little grip section right here because my thumb rests right on this slide, and I'm pointing with my thumb, and my dominant hand thumb comes up over the top and allows more grip contact here. That entire length of the grip is in contact with my palm. And so now I've got really good purchase on the gun. I'm squeezing with my left hand, and my trigger finger, that whole arm isn't under tension, and I can pull that trigger without pulling the gun really wildly one direction or the other.
All right, you're ready. Stand by.
One thing that I'm doing as a clamping figure now is I've learned that if I will just, in a way that isn't natural to me, and it's becoming more and more natural, if I will raise my elbows,
like push up, rotate them out
just a little bit. What that does is it creates a clamping with my hands in this direction.
So we're getting like
getting
motion,
that kind of a feel, and it's
sideways.
not a lot, and and I'm not having to engage any muscles in my hands to make that happen. But as I'm rotating my shoulders or my elbows out just a touch, my dot stabilizes like crazy. I can hold that more stable. It doesn't take me any, and I'm on a 1-inch spot right now, holding steady, and I'm not moving. Without that, it dances a little bit because everything's in my wrists and in my forearms. But by engaging my upper arm muscles here a little bit, I just stabilize that dot.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that doesn't yet feel natural to me to do. but I do notice a difference, and I'm learning to make that better. So that's
And
part of my grip.
after repetition and practice,
It becomes
it
natural.
becomes natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So that's competition
Uh-huh.
grip. And a lot of people, especially when you're doing a video and stuff, people will see you do this and oh, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And they'll use that term, you're wrong, you're doing that wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is wrong. It's just a different application.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think of it like, I mean, in sports, like athletic competition and everything like that, is there one size that fits all? Does everybody do everything the exact same way? No, some teams have different methods, they have different styles. I mean, I've seen really good shooters that use the teacup and saucer and they win competitions. I don't prefer that, but I mean, if you practice that enough and you figure it out, man, good for you. So, grips, I'm pretty similar to what you're doing, where we're getting that, you know, this grip right here. But if I'm like actually doing combat transitions where I have a primary rifle or something like that, I change it a little bit. Here, I'll let you have yours back. So if I have my primary, so I'm just going to grab this back real quick. Don't have a sling on it yet or anything. But if I'm here and then I'm transitioning to where I'm putting this down, I'm going to be going for my pistol here. I'm going to get a stronger grip where I'm actually gripping with my thumb so I can engage one-handed if I need to. And depending on the situation, if I'm here, if we do this kind of competition, and the most popular grip right now anyway, if we do this, okay, we can get a good grip, but if somebody's coming at me and they grab my gun, it's easy to push it away. It's easy to break my grip, okay? But if I am actually clamped down in that wrong grip that you were kind of talking about right here, I'm pushing on that thumb, it's going to be a lot harder to grab and rip that gun.
Yeah, you do have that full fist grip on the gun, and ripping that out of your hand because your entire right hand is glued to that grip.
Yeah. So if I have to go one-handed, if I'm still transitioning and there's somebody right here, I can start shooting. But if my grip is still like this, it's not going to be as tight. Maybe if it gets bumped, or we're actually in a force-on-force conflict here where they are right up and they're able to grab it. Now I'm not controlling my pistol as well. So it kind of depends on what we're doing.
Well, to your point, in the design of at least every striker fire handgun that I can think of, they build that right hand dominant. Well, both for either hand, they build it into the grip, right? They intend, and you've got a good. But here it is on this gun here. You can see on this side, and it matches on the other side. There's a groove here where on my dominant hand, my thumb fits directly in that groove. They make the gun to be held with one hand very effectively, and that's part of the design. And you will get in one-handed shooting situations, and you've got to be able to grip the gun really well.
Yeah.
And I can see in a close combat situation, having a good grip on your gun that gives you stability and full control under any circumstance of that firearm, more valuable in close quarters than an accuracy
if we're talking
designed grip, right?
5 to 3 yards or even closer than that, I don't need to be like, I need to hold my front sight as still as possible because I'm going for the A zone or something like that. It's just I'm here, and this may be me aiming right here, so it's just like depends on your scenario. So there really isn't a right or wrong. Practice, I mean, like, go through the scenario on your own and figure out what works best for me as a shooter. Practice it, be comfortable with it, and you're probably going to be good. And then ignore anybody that's like, you're doing that wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody come up to somebody else and be like, so in this scenario, if I went up to you and said, hey, you're gripping this wrong, you should do it this way. And then you would be like, cool story, and then you'd like totally outshoot the person that's telling you you're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
So it's like, if you're good, you're good. I don't care how you're gripping it. I mean, if you're like holding it like this and you're
gonna hurt your right thumb,
okay, then we're gonna have a talk. But if you come out and you do this and you're like boom 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 boom, boom and you outpace me, I'll be like,
cool grip.
Good.
Yeah, good job.
I ain't saying anything about that.
The things I see when I'm helping a new shooter get started, the two things that I see a lot, I see really low grip.
With this big gap right in there.
I see a lot of that, and then they always have major control problems,
Yeah.
right? So that's something. High on the grip is universal,
Yeah.
right? I think that's going to apply no matter what grip you're using and what application of shooting a handgun you're going to have. Get as high on the grip as is physically possible and give yourself good purchase. You know, I saw a competition shooter once, and I don't know her name. This was months and months ago, but it was fascinating to me. Her grip, she went around the front of the trigger guard.
Oh, and she put her
She
finger
put her
right there. Yeah, I see
finger
that a lot too.
around the front of the trigger guard, and I've shot like that a little bit. It does. It gives you some good stability. Like I don't hate it. The problem is in competition. If I have my finger in the trigger guard and this finger over it, and I'm here, the range officer has a hard time seeing whether I have my finger removed from the trigger or not. So I didn't allow myself to get in that habit because I knew it would give me competition problems. So I keep my finger down and out of the way so that they've got really good view there and can see that my trigger finger's out of the trigger guard. But
so and then that's where you'd change your grip depending on what you're doing.
again,
if there's a good reason for you to do it, and even her grip. I mean, they have texturing right there.
Yep.
For that, it's shaped for that.
Yep.
So if you want to do it, it worked great.
There.
But in your case, it's like, man, I don't want to get docked points.
Well,
I don't want to get.
And my hands are larger than hers would have been, right?
Yeah.
Her finger probably comes to about here.
Yeah.
Where my finger, just based
you
on my
can't
grip,
see it
wraps
at all.
around the trigger guard to a point where that doesn't make sense for my application purposes. But anyway.
Yeah, so practice whatever's comfortable. If you're able to hold that sight steady, you have good control over the pistol. Do what feels comfortable. Try out other grips. See what ends up like with you. You're like, hey, now that I feel like I'm like turning my elbows out, I feel more stable.
Yep.
It could be someone like I know, like my brother. He was in the military. He's messed up some of his joints because he was a paratrooper, and he's like, man, if I do this, I get super weak and shaky because my joints are just messed up. Well,
Makes
that
sense.
case, don't do that. You gotta figure out what's gonna work best for you. There's all types of situations where it's just like, that works great for you, not for me. You shouldn't be coming up to me and being like, hey, you got to do it my way.
Yeah.
Because I'm not you.
Yep, that's right. So there you go. So competition has definitely changed my grip. It changes how I hold a gun, and it's improved my accuracy and my speed on target. And honestly, my dot acquisition got better when I adjusted my grip and got used to that muscle memory of where that's going to be. Everything improved.
Yeah.
Find what works for you. Find what makes you efficient. Find what makes you most comfortable and is gonna. And if you need to make a change because you're more accurate, practice it. And now I've practiced that so much that even in a one-handed shooting situation, when I bring my non-dominant hand up as a support hand, my thumb switch.
Yeah.
And it naturally goes into a position, and I'm able to press that palm into that grip in a way that I never did before.
Yeah.
And I've trained myself to do that, and that thought doesn't cross my mind. It's just that's where naturally the gun goes now and feels, and I've trained that into myself. So you can make changes, and you can train them and be consistent with them, and make it so it's second nature, and you're safe, you're fast, you're accurate, and train.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
right. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Like, subscribe, comment, tell us we're wrong. That's always fun. Buck, you want to shout out your channel?
My channel's Tactical Weapon Combat Ready, and we've been collaborating on some of these videos. It's been really fun. So.
Yeah, we approach things from different angles, and man, it's a blast. I have not closely worked with a guy who knows firearms and understands the tactics of using firearms better than Buck. So if you haven't looked at his channel, go check him out. He's doing some incredible analysis
on a high pedestal.
Yeah, don't be disappointed when you show up and he sucks.
Go with low expectations.
Awesome. Okay, we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for stopping by.